edition of Pioneer with Poncelet with me, Kevin Poncelet. Today we're playing some Sram Auras, a deck piloted by Ken Yukuhiro into the top 8 of PT Nagoya a couple weeks ago. We made some changes to it. We're playing Dryad Militant instead of Favored Hoplite, and a few changes in the sideboard, but it's mostly the same deck. I do think it has some game in the current metagame. I think it's pretty strong. So we're gonna try it out, see how it goes today. This hand is close. We don't have a Sram or a Hateful Eidolon, but we do have Alseid and Dryad Militant and a couple protection spells. So I'm gonna keep it. It's like on the low end of a keep, but we're just like one Sram slash Ethereal Armor effect away from having a great hand. So it's pretty close, and I'm going to keep it and play this Dryad Militant first. Like, it's reasonable. We have a decent clock and some protection spells, so obviously we'd prefer the Griffspoon to be an Ethereal Armor or something like that, but can't always get what you want. Just going to play Protect the Queen here. Play Griffspoon and swing in for 3, holding up Karametra's Blessing for a potential burn spell. Opponent played Steam Vents, which not sure what that means. Steam Vents Urborg. Thoughtseize. Huh. Okay. So it's like a Grixis build? Have not played against much Grixis at all in Pioneer, really, but especially not lately. So opponent's doing some sort of brew here. It's cool. It's good to see different decks pop up. The unfortunate thing about our opponent playing Grixis is it's probably not a good matchup for us. Yeah, I can't imagine a deck full of blue, red, and black removal spells is going to be easy for us to navigate here. And we're not drawing very well. Drawing 2 lands in a row is obviously really bad. Had we drawn any 1-mana pump spell, obviously, ideally, Ethereal Armor there, I think we're in pretty good shape. But having not drawn one, I feel like we're not in good shape here. Alright, Sentinel's Eyes gets us a little more damage here. Alright, well, this is actually going okay. Languish will wipe our board, but we'll still have Griffspoon and Sentinel's Eyes. Nicol Bolas. Alright. That's fine, we'll discard this Plains. So if we draw a way to make this 7 power and then give it protection from any of these 3 colors, we win. Which is 8 cards in our deck. I'll do that. That's not one of them. But it's close. We need just 2 more damage now. So we could have attacked and then let the trade happen and then put a bunch of things on Alseid. But then Alseid doesn't have any protection, and I didn't feel like that was the right line. Glorybringer. Oh, goodness. That's really bad. So it's Grixis Dragons we're playing against right now. This is interesting. Alright, so if we draw a non-land card, we're in decent shape. Well, that non-land card. I guess we can recast both Sentinel's Eyes. on Sram and draw a couple cards. That seems kind of good. Yeah, so we'll attack. They have to block probably, right? Yeah. We get to cast Sram, and then 2 Sentinel's Eyes, potentially. At least one. We're going to exile our non-enchantments first, because we do have Ephemia in our deck. Karametra's Blessing is pretty good. Opponent at 7. Yeah, we're just going to hold that one up. That was a good draw. So even if they have another Glorybringer. Alright, Jace is not great for us. Ethereal Armor is really good. Ghost Spoon costs 4. Alright. Yeah, I'm just going to cast all that glitters. So now they just have to block with Jace. Cool, that worked out pretty well. Sentinel's Eyes being 1 mana from your graveyard is just awesome. So yeah, we're going to make them block with Jace here. They need to deal with this Sram. We have 2 Karametra's Blessings. So if they have 2 removal spells right now, they'll get us. But if not, they're going to have to chump with Glorybringer, and then we probably win from there. Drown in the Lock. No, thank you. Alright, they're on chump with Glorybringer mode. And we might as well go a little wide. Draw some cards. Might as well play this. So now if somehow they do kill our Sram through the Karametra's Blessing, we're actually going to draw a ton of cards. So very good shape here. And this is kind of the power of this deck. Like, we drew Sram and it seemed kind of bad, but actually it was great because we were able to draw some cards with Sentinel's Eyes. Alright, that's annoying. Yeah, that's pretty annoying. Alright, I didn't factor in that they might have another Nickel B. And that was kind of a bummer. They're at 7. They have to chump with that. Might as well cast this on here. Exiling the 2 Karametra's Blessings again because we don't want to exile enchantments if we can help it. And I'm probably supposed to keep that Caves in hand, actually. But yeah, we're just playing the Abyss now with our Sram. The Abyss is a card from Legends that says every turn you sacrifice target creature. And yeah, basically they had to just have a blocker every turn or they were going to lose. And we got them. So I was a little worried there when we drew a couple extra lands and we weren't able to close in the early game, but this deck's pretty powerful, and Sram drawing us some cards got us there. We obviously drew pretty well that turn after Sram, But most of the removal is going to be black based, so Apostle of Purifying Light is going to be really good. Some of it's going to be red, like their Glory Bringers, but I assume most of it's going to be black, so I still think this card's going to be really good. Hushbringer turns off the effect of Nicol Bolas, but it doesn't do anything against it doesn't do anything against Glorybringer, so that's an issue. Getting into the Trials can attack, which is reasonable, but I think we're just bringing in the 3 Apostles, and we're going to board out. The Griff Spoons don't seem that useful here. Yeah. Like, their creatures have flying anyway, or most of them do. So I think that's a pretty easy swap. Alright, this hand's great. We've got Apostle. We've got Hateful Eidolon. And we've got Sentinel's Eyes and Karametra's Blessing to protect, in case they do find a red removal spell for our Apostle. Jace would be pretty good for them here. Stomp. Alright, the existence of Stomp makes Apostle a little bit worse. We're going to lead with Ephemia here and just get 4 power for 2 mana, which is just fantastic. Little side note, I opened this in every single sealed pool that I had for GP New Jersey. I played in the PTQ on Friday, and then the GP on Saturday, and then another PTQ on Sunday, and every single pool had Ephemia, and every single one of my main decks had Ephemia in it. Black is one of the better colors in Theros Limited, if not, well, it's just the best color in Theros Limited, and Ephemia is one of the better rares. Not like a crazy bomb or anything, but like really, really good on rate. I mean, it's almost bomb level. So our opponent missed their land drop. I believe we just want to play another Ephemia here and probably just hold up Karametra's Blessing. Or, I mean, Cartouche is probably fine too on the zombie. Just go wide. Yeah, I'm kind of into that. Thoughtseize, sure. I'll take that. Ooh, missed their land drop again. Well, that's pretty bad for our opponent. Gonna throw a Sentinel's Eyes on this zombie. And so that's 9 damage. I think that's fine. I think we can just play Apostle. And I don't think they really have any outs. There's no, like, I mean, there's Cry the Carnarium, but they're still dead if they cast that. There's Anger of the Gods. Anger of the Gods would be a blowout, but they don't have it. All right. Yeah, I played into Anger of the Gods there. I should have played around it by putting a Sentinel's Eyes, another one on one of the 3/3s. That was incorrect, playing Apostle. I kind of forgot about Anger of the Gods and was thinking of Cry the Carnarium. But yeah, Anger of the Gods would have got us there, and that would have been the only way we would have lost. And when there's only one way you can lose, like one card that kills you that your opponent could be playing, you should probably play around it. So that was a poor decision there, but we got there. All right, welcome to round 2 with Sram Auras. This hand's fantastic. We're gonna keep it. As long as they don't have a turn 1 fatal push / shock effect here, we're in very good shape. If they do have the shock or the fatal push, we're in much worse shape, but so it looks like spirits. Yeah, definitely spirits. Some mono blue decks are running Spectral Sailor as well. But yeah, this is definitely just a spirits deck. And because it's spirits, we know we can kind of just go all in. And hold up this protection spell. And if they don't have Petty Theft next turn, they're just dead. Well, I suppose they can block with Selfless Spirit. Tapping out. And they can't attack with Selfless Spirit. No attacks at all. Okay. So we get to go a little bit wider here. Cards like All That Glitters and Ethereal Armor really allow you to like just have all the lethal threats all the time, which is why the fact that this deck gets to play 8 of them makes it really good. Yeah. Another Selfless Spirit. So they're not dead, but they're not gaining anything here. And I mean, the fact that they have Selfless Spirit there means they're only losing 1 creature, which is good for them. But they're not going to be able to sustain this for very long. And they're going to scoop them up. All right, so it looks like just a typical Spirits build. Against Spirits, Hushbringer is very good. Deadweight is pretty awesome. You need to get rid of their Nabelgast Heralds and their like X1s like Rattle Chains and Selfless Spirit and those types of cards. So the Deadweights are pretty good. Also, Deadweight being an aura makes it really good with Hateful Eidolon and Sram. I call this Eidolon a lot because I think that's the first way I learned how to say it, and I looked it up. It's supposed to be Eidolon, which just doesn't roll off the tongue as well. But anyway, I'll probably call it both things multiple times. Apologize. So yeah, we're going to board out Gerspoon as their creatures all have flying already. And I don't really like Dryad Militant that much in this matchup. And then we're also going to board in Atomic. Dryad Militant is basically just for Lotus Breach and Inverter. And otherwise, it's just a Savannah Lions, which is fine. But nothing exciting when you're not playing against Dig Through Time or a deck that uses the graveyard. I guess against Phoenix, this card would be very good as well, but I haven't really seen much Phoenix these days. And we got to cut 2 more cards. I think we can cut a Karametra's Blessing and maybe a Sentinel's Eyes. We don't want to cut any of our flyers like Ephemia, and we certainly don't want to cut the all that glitters effects. This hand's great. We're going to keep. This hand is weak to a Deputy of Detention for a little bit, but other than Deputy, this hand is very good. I think I just play Tomic here. If they want to block, that's great. I'm down. Yeah, that's great. Opponent missed their land drop. All right. Interesting. I think we want to cartouche and go wide. And I think we want to cartouche on Tomic and just start beating down. We might find a Vigilance enchantment at some point and be able to attack and defend. But I like going a little wider, especially with our opponent stuck on lands. Having some more blockers. Alright, they found a 3rd land, but they put it in tapped, so that means no Nabelgast Herald. So this would add +3/+3. I think it's better to Ethereal Armor up this. And just hold up Karametra's Blessing in case they find Deputy next turn. Yeah. Well, a white source for Deputy, that is. Or like a Coco into a Deputy. Well, they found a 4th land. Again, no white, but their hand might be all Cocos, so we kind of want to go in here and get some work done. I'm going to spread the love here. I'm going to throw all the glitters on the warrior. See if we can make them have to block 2 things. That's 8. I'm just going to go for the win, I think. And try and deal 10. Yeah. So they didn't have anything last turn, so they didn't have the Petty Theft, I was pretty sure, and they obviously drew the Botanical Sanctum, because if they had Petty Theft, they would have cast it last turn. So that's why I went for the win there. It was a little bit risky, because they might have been sandbagging the Petty Theft, but very unlikely based on how they played the last turn, and we ended up getting there. Cool. Also, I went for it because we're far enough ahead there that even if they were sandbagging the Petty Theft and next leveling us, we were still fine to win that game. But it is important while you're playing this deck to not go all in on one creature always, especially against decks that have some amount of removal, which is most decks. you do want to diversify your threats a little bit, depending on the situation. All right, welcome to round 3 with Sram Auras. We're going to keep this hand. It's pretty good. Yeah, we haven't lost a game yet, so that's cool. I do think this deck is just pretty good. I played it a bit last night and actually got a trophy with it. Soulscar Mage. So I think we just play Eidolon and put an Ethereal Armor on it right now, after attacking with Militant. Because if they can't deal 4 next turn, which is very unlikely that they can, most decks are not playing like main deck Mizium Mortars. And then the turn after, they're just dead. So red is a very good matchup because you just need a lifelink creature that you make 4 toughness in the early game, and then they just literally can't win. They just can't do anything. I mean, they could cast multiple burn spells. So I guess if they have double shock here, because they have Soulscar Mage, they could get there. Soulscar Mage does change the math a little bit, but even if they do kill our Eidolon, we're drawing an extra card off of it. We have Ephemia to make like infinite dudes off all the enchantments in our graveyard that go there from them having double shock. So yeah, like we're in really good shape here. And I do think this is one of our better matchups. That worked out really well. So they went for the lightning strike, and now they're just going to scoop because we're at 23 and they're at 9, and they just can't beat that card at this point. So yeah, obviously our hand was very good for the red matchup, but it's also, I think, a pretty good matchup in general. Hushbringer is going to turn off Goblin Chain Whirler. It's not going to do much else as far as its abilities go, but the fact that it turns off Goblin Chain Whirler and has lifelink is why we're going to play it. It also has flying, which is a relevant keyword in this matchup. They generally don't play flyers in the red decks right now. Previously, they were playing things like Rekindling Phoenix and some Glory Bringers in like the chunky red builds, but most people aren't on those anymore. Most people are a lot lower to the ground at this point. Dryad Militant, not very good. And I was just saying that like their creatures don't have flying, so Griffspoon is decent, but I'd rather just have the lifelink creature than the Griffspoon. And yeah, getting into the trials is reasonable here, but I just don't think it's good enough. Like turning off their Bone Crusher Giant for a turn or whatever is fine, and attacking for 4 is fine as well. But it's 3 mana, and it's not like it's just winning us the game by itself. It's like just like a pseudo removal, pseudo creature that you really don't want to enchant. So he's reasonable. I wouldn't fault somebody for bringing in Gideon in the Trials against red, but I personally I'm not a fan. All right, we're going to keep this one. And we're going to bottom, I guess, Hushbringer. We have 2 other lifelink creatures, so we don't really need the Hushbringer here. And, I mean, stopping Chain Whirler is relevant, but, yeah, I'm just going to bottom the Hushbringer. So I think I'm actually going to lead with All Seed, because Hateful Eidolon is going to be a bit better. And I want to be able to just equip it. And if they don't, like if they tap out here, yeah, this is good for us. Depending on how many more removal spells they have, that is. Well, that's interesting. In that case, I think I'm just going to lead with Ephemia, because that's also like kind of a must-answer threat for them. That was a good draw. Just like 2 mana for 4 power across 2 bodies. It's really good. Ephemia has been really impressive out of this deck for me so far. I almost want to play the 4th, because when you draw a second one, it still makes a zombie. You just keep the one that was already in play when you play the second one, and you make a zombie with it. We're not going to block here. That seems... Blocking Soulscar Mage is generally bad when your opponent has open mana. Chain Whirler. Ooh. Well, they did have the Chain Whirler, which is a bummer. Alright, we didn't get there. So I think what we want to do here is go for it. And by go for it, I mean we play Hateful Eidolon, stick a Sentinel's Eyes on it, and just hope they don't have a 3 damage removal spell. And if they don't, then we get to untap and play All That Glitters, and maybe I'll Seed as well, and win the game from there. If they do, we could just rebuild with Sram later, but we don't have that many turns to do that. So if they do have the 3 damage removal spell here, we're in pretty bad shape, all told. But they don't. So I think we got it. I mean, not necessarily. They could draw like Chandra here with the Soulscar Mages, making our creature a lot smaller. Alright, so neither of us can attack here. So that's relevant. So if I play All the Glitters, it's +4 more, so 8. Which means I think we just cast Sram as well. Take 4 here. I think that's reasonable. We can gain 8. So I think this is fine. Oh, 9. Right. Yeah, they can't really win from here, I don't think. They can block with everything. But I'll take this 10 for 1 or whatever it is. Alright, so we want to kill the Chain Whirlers and both... Because we can't kill both Soulscar mages. Maybe we want to kill Eidolon. And let them have the Soulscar mages. Yeah, let's do it like that. Draw some cards. Draw some more cards. And they're just going to scoop. Okay. All right. Hello and welcome to round 4 with our sweet Sram Auras deck, built by Ken Yukuhiro mostly, or at least popularized by Ken Yukuhiro at PT Nagoya. We are 3-0. We haven't dropped a game, and this hand is quite good. Other than the fact that it only has one aura, it's a very good hand, so we're going to keep it. And we're going to lead with Eidolon here. The Alseed is a lot of the time going to be like a protection spell slash get through blockers spell. So a lot of the time you want to wait with the Eidolon. A blue-white deck generally going to be unable to deal with Sram this turn. So we're going to get it going here. Get Sram out there, draw some cards. I think maybe I want to play another Eidolon. The downside here is if they have Seal Away, specifically. I'm going to lead with Ethereal Armor. They could also have Teferi. In which case we could just play Alseed. Yeah, that seems reasonable. Seal Away would be rough. Azorius Charm, nah. Pro blue here. If you give it pro white, it's going to lose its Ethereal Armor, and that'd be bad. So they could still have Teferi, which would still be bad. Gideon. Don't really mind Gideon too much. I mean, Gideon into Supreme Verdict is not great for us, but... we're just drawing so many cards that I don't think it really matters. Settle the Wreckage obviously would be bad. I think I'm going to play another Eidolon because we draw so many cards if they Verdict. We'll draw 6 cards if they Verdict here. They still have to do it if they have it. Now they're going to play Teferi. Bounce Sram. Okay. Can we kill them next turn? I think we can, right? 14. This adds a lot. We can probably kill them. They have 1 mana up, so they can't interact. let's just do some math real quick. We can play 3 enchantments. That would add 3. Yeah, I believe that's way more than lethal. Yeah. Don't have to do too much math here. I mean, I guess there's like some world where they're playing unsummon. Okay. Cool. So our opponent had a good hand. They had Azorius Charm into Gideon into Teferi, and they like didn't want to cast their Supreme Verdict because we drew so many cards. So like that was kind of cool that we were able to so easily defeat an opponent with a very good hand. But our hand was also very good, obviously. I think Gideon's good here just because it's a threat that survives the verdict. I think Militant's actually kind of good, and I think we really do want a 1-drop. But Griff Spoon is pretty medium. So I think I'm going to cut the Griff Spoons and then just play like Atomic as another threat. Or maybe just 1 Griff Spoon because they do have like Castle Ardenvale. I'm actually not sure about the Gideons. I think in general you want to bring in Planeswalkers against control, but like Gideon of the Trials isn't actually adding any advantage. It's not like Gideon Ally. I wonder if we're just supposed to rely on Karametra's Blessing and Hateful Eidolons to deal with the Supreme Verdicts. Not sure how good Gideon of the Trials is. I'm going to try it. We're on the draw. If it plays pretty poorly, we can board back in the Griff Spoons just as like 1-mana enchantments that get us over the, wow, this hand's really good. Get us over the Castle Ardenvale tokens and like Elspeth Sun's Champion tokens and stuff like that. I really don't want them to Azorius Charm this Eidolon. I also don't want them to censor our Sram. And it might get censored. Didn't. Alright, that's good. They might bounce Sram, that's fine. Narset's totally fine. Getting into the Trials, that's also totally fine. So let's start going ham, I guess. I guess we spread it out. The lifelink doesn't matter in this matchup, obviously. Oh, Narset's in play. We gotta kill Narset. Forgot that has text against Sram, huh? Yeah, let's kill the Narset and deal 2 to them and then start casting more things, I guess. Maybe we were supposed to just kill the Narset and then start casting things post-combat. That was maybe better, but I think this is also fine. Spread the love a little bit. Draw some more cards. Gonna play another Eidolon here. Pretty sure. Draw 4 cards if they Wrath. No Wrath. Gideon's very dead. We also might just be able to kill them. Can we just kill them? I think that's just lethal, right? With 2 all that glitters. Pretty sure it is. I should probably do the math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So each of these is +6 +6. Yeah, that's more than lethal. All right. It's that easy, I guess. Our hand was pretty ridiculous this game, to be fair. All right. All right. Opponent said that's quite the draw. And we haven't dropped a game. Man, that'd be sweet if we get the 5-0 10-0 for the YouTube video, huh? That would be pretty sweet. But we kind of dismantled like 2 good blue-white hands, which feels good on the play and on the draw. This deck is pretty powerful, but we also have been drawing pretty well for the most part. So, yeah. Ready for playing for the trophy here. All right, welcome back, and we're here for round 5. We're 4-0, 8-0 in games. Haven't dropped a game. Playing for the trophy. Hand's great. We're gonna keep it. Yeah, feeling pretty good. I do think this deck is actually attacking the metagame from a pretty interesting angle. And I think with careful play, like don't play into their removal when you can help it, you can really make it tough for your opponent to get you. Mono black is kind of a problem. We do have a really good sideboard for it. With 3 Apostle of Purifying Light. So hopefully we can draw those in the post-board games and maybe sneak out of game 1. Game 1, though, I'm definitely a bit worried because they just have so much removal and a decent clock. So it's hard to beat them game 1, I would imagine. I kind of want to block here in order for Ephemia to be more powerful, but the lifelink on Hateful Eidolon is just so good that I'm not going to. I was tempted, though. Thoughtseize, okay. It's kind of good. That means we can kind of go off next turn. And if they take an enchantment, we get to Ephemia and make some blockers. They took Ephemia, yeah. Alright, well, this is really good. We get to Cartouche and Ethereal Armor our dude. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Vigilance, but we can block the Bloodsoaked Champion with our 1/1. We get to gain a bunch of life here, and then if they do kill it, which they're very likely to, we're going to draw 2 cards. So all told, this is a pretty good exchange. The 2 Dryad Militants in our hand, not great at the moment. They're like one of the worst cards in the matchup, but let's go ahead and play this. Ooh, it resolved? Oh, okay. Things are very good. Whoa. Alright, well, now we're in great shape, because if they do manage to kill our Hateful Eidolon, we're going to draw 4 cards. And they're at 7, we're at 27. Like, things are pretty damn good. Darn good. Probably can't say that. All right, we got game 1. And we're bringing in the best card possible in the matchup. This card is just game over, basically. It's, I think the only card, or one of... No, it's not the only card. There's also at least one other protection from black card in the format, but this one's 2 mana and mono white. We could also technically cast Blood Baron of Viscopa in our deck, but not super interested in that. And then I do want Deadweight in this matchup. I think Deadweight's quite good. And they don't really block, for the most part, very well, at least. So the Grispoons are like medium. And I don't like Dryad Militant very much. As we saw there, they were not very good last game. And I think we can drop 1 Sentinel's Eyes, because I think the Hexproof Indestructible is going to be pretty important. Yeah, it's kind of between Blessing and Sentinel's Eyes. The fact that Sentinel's Eyes is an enchantment makes it kind of good. Since we're boarding out 2 creatures and 3 enchantments, it's nice to board out. Like, keep the enchantment count the same is kind of important for things like Ethereal Armor, Sram, Hateful Eidolon, that kind of thing. But also protection is really important here. So it's a tough decision between Sentinel's Eyes and Blessing. I think I'm going to go with 1 Sentinel's Eyes. Because the Blessing, I think, is generally going to be a little bit better. We do have an Apostle, and we do have some stuff to do on the first couple turns, even if we don't draw a land for a little bit. So I'm keeping this hand. We did not get there on the land yet, but any land will do. Oh, baby, we got there. I think I'm just attacking with Eidolon here. And then hopefully just winning the game. This card also has text against their deck, which is pretty hilarious. The activated ability is like super relevant here. You know, I haven't really thought about Apostle of Purifying Light being decent against Breach, but I guess it is like not the worst possible thing. Obviously, the activated ability and casting the creature costs a lot in a deck with only 20 lands, so I doubt that I'll end up bringing this in against Breach, but it is a real thing. Mogus Marauder. Alright, they're going to try and race us here, which is very possible right now. They're attacking for 6, so we're going to 12. If we draw a land and we get to double Ethereal Armor Cartouche, then that's a lot of damage. Did not draw the land, but we do have... Wow, I didn't block. Oh yeah, I couldn't block. We're going to Sentinel's Eyes this. And I think Cartouche it too, rather than Ethereal Armor. Ethereal Armor does add another damage, but that 1 extra damage right now I don't think is worth it. rather than having another blocker and making sure we're not dead. And then next turn, double Ethereal Armor and Alseed, I think, is the end for them. That adds +8/+8, +10/10. Maybe not quite. Yeah, maybe we don't quite have the kill next turn. But they have no good attacks, and we have another creature we can sack to Rankle. Another good reason to play the Cartouche there rather than Ethereal Armor. A really good reason. Honestly, it's one of their only ways to fight against Apostle is Rankle, make us sack it. So I imagine they're in a really rough spot here. They're going to Fatal Push the 1/1. Get in there. Guess we'll block Mogus. Ooh, Shadow Spear. Interesting. We should probably play around them having Rankle. So their last card is Rankle and they draw land. We're actually in trouble. So I think we just play Alseed and Ethereal Armor here. We don't need to kill them right now. We actually can't kill them right now. And this gets rid of Hexproof and Indestructible, but it does not get rid of Protection. Just making sure. We could have played the Alseed pre-combat and done 1 more damage, but that 1 damage doesn't actually matter here. But we should have. All right. Well, we just got the 5-0-10-0. The 5-0-10-0. I've only done it 1 other time, and that's awesome. I guess this deck's great, huh? We drew pretty well. But yeah, I also think this deck is pretty good. So let's do a little deck tech. We 5-0-10-0'd. We didn't drop a game for an entire competitive Pioneer League, and picked up my 2nd trophy in 2 days with this deck. So I don't know, maybe this is pretty real. Yeah, we're playing a couple Dryad Militants. This is Ken Yukuhiro's deck. To go back to that, I should start my deck tech off by saying Ken Yukuhiro and I believe Shota Takao played this deck and did very well with it at PT Nagoya, that is Players Tour Nagoya, 2 weeks ago. And Ken Yukuhiro even got 2nd in the entire tournament, losing to Bant Spirits, which actually I think is a good matchup. But Kenta Harane, who was playing Bant Spirits, a very good player, and was able to draw a bunch of Deputy of Detentions in the final game and take it. Really good match, though. If you're interested in this deck, I would definitely check out Ken Yukuhiro's matches from PT Nagoya. They're all up on the Magic Twitch channel. Anyway, really fun deck. It's got these 1-drops that happen to be enchantments and have other relevant abilities. Alseed of Life's Bounty has like God's Willing effect, but it's also a 1/1 lifelink, and it's an enchantment itself, which pumps our Ethereal Armors and our All That Glitters, and also allows us to attack through their creatures while also giving us a protection spell. So it kind of does everything. Really good card. Then Hateful Eidolon, kind of the backbone of the deck in tandem with Sram. It's a card that you'll draw cards if they kill this, or kill any of your creatures that have auras on them. Post board, we draw cards off deadweighting their creatures. If we have Hateful Eidolon in play, we draw cards off of casting dead weight when we have Sram in play. So they're kind of our engines, Hateful Eidolon and Sram, Senior Edificer. Then we're playing 4 of each of Ethereal Armor and All That Glitters, which are the cards that win us the game. Cartouche lets us go a little bit wider, get more creatures. It's it's like a 2/2 for 1 that also has great synergies with our deck. And then we've got 3 Gryff's Boon. It's a cheap way to give your creature usually unblockable. In the current meta, Gryff's Boon actually seems a little bit worse because a lot of people have flyers right now. But in the matchups where you want it, you really do want it. And it just gives you the win out of nowhere. It's like another way of giving your creature unblockable like Alseid does. Then 4 Karametra's Blessing. This card gives your creature indestructible, which is a really big keyword against things like Supreme Verdict, Blast Zone, Fatal Push. I mean, Hexproof deals with any targeted removal anyway, but Karametra's Blessing is almost always giving Hexproof and indestructible in our deck. We have very few non-enchantment creatures, and then those ones that are non-enchantment creatures, we're usually going to put enchantments on. So they're going to be enchanted creatures, which means it works both ways here. Sentinel's Eyes is a really sweet pickup from Theros as well. It gives +1/+1 in Vigilance, but also has Escape for 1 white. It's the only escape card that doesn't go up in price when you're escaping it, which is pretty awesome. For 1 white, you can just exile 2 cards. It's also cheap exile cost of only 2 cards, and great. Like earlier in that league, we attacked with a Dryad Militant with a couple Sentinel's Eyes on it. They blocked with a Nicol Bolas. We played a Sram, recast Sentinel's Eyes from the graveyard, drew some cards. It was great. Sentinel's Eyes, really nice, really good addition. A lot of Theros cards in here, actually, if you take a look. And then Ephemia is just a really powerful creature that works really well with the synergies of our deck, because almost everything in our deck is an enchantment besides Karametra's Blessing and like Sram and the 2 Dryad Militants. So like everything else is an enchantment. So Ephemia is almost always going to make a zombie when you cast it. It's a great play on turn 2 if they Fatal Push or Shock to your turn 1 play. And then you just have 4 power with 2 bodies. It's like, come at me. Here we go. Great value creature. Then 3 Apostle of Purifying Light. Black decks are kind of difficult. Inverter and Mono Black are very popular. And Apostle of Purifying Light's coming in against both those decks and just kind of wins the game by itself. Very hard for them to interact with this once it's in play. They can sometimes chump it with a Mutavault or chump it with a Jace for Ins Prodigy out of Inverter. Inverter actually can block this, Inverter of Truth itself, but the fact that they can't Fatal Push it or Drown in the Locket or Tyrant Scorn or Hero's Downfall or whatever else they're going to try and use to kill it, you're able to just like kind of go crazy. And then also the exile target card from a graveyard could end up winning you the game against an Inverter player that like taps out for an Inverter and doesn't have the win right away. You can maybe exile those 2 cards they had in their graveyard, which they might only have 2 cards in their graveyard because we're also playing Dryad Militant. So a lot of interesting synergies here that work pretty well against the top tier decks of the format right now. When I first saw somebody playing Dryad Militant, I was like, why is that in there? And then thinking about it, it's really good against Breach, really good against Inverter, because it just slows down those dig through times. And post board, yeah, like they sometimes will only have 2 cards in their graveyard if you had a turn 1 Militant. So you might just be able to exile those 2 cards and win the game because they have no cards when they untap. But yeah, Hushbringer, also good against Inverter, also good against Spirits, and randomly good against like Red because it has lifelink and stops Goblin Chain Whirler. And you're probably going to bring it in against Green that have like Green Devotion with like Burning Tree Emissary and Voracious Hydra. Hushbringer's very good there too. I think they're usually playing Jade Light Rangers as well, so you kind of shut down a lot of their deck with Hushbringer, and also having a flyer with lifelink is really nice in those matchups. Tomic really good against Spirits because it's a flyer, and then also obviously very good against Lotus Breach. They can't untap their lands, with targeted abilities. They can still untap with Pour Over the Pages, but this card really slows them down. They also can't activate Thespian Stage with this card in play, and we can give it Indestructible, which is how I won a game against Lotus Breach last night. Our opponent went for the Blast Zone on 2. We gave our Atomic Indestructible and killed them. It was really sweet. 2 Getting into the Trials, the best possible card against Inverter. You bring it down, you emblem, and if they don't already have an Inverter in play, it's almost impossible for them to win the game from there. So yeah, Getting in the Trials, best possible card against Inverter. At least 2 should be in your deck if you're playing white right now, I think. 3 Deadweight, really good against aggro decks. Really good synergies with Eidolon and Sram. Don't really have to talk about it too much. Damping Sphere, kind of a concession to Lotus Breach being the best deck in the format right now. Lotus Breach and Inverter, I think, and I think you're going to be playing against Breach a decent amount of the time, and I think Damping Sphere is probably the best card in that matchup because it's not Uganable, and it's very hard for them to win through this. Like, it makes their Lotus field tap for 1, and it makes it so they can only really cast like 1 spell that turn. So if they don't have the Return to Nature, the Unravel the Ether for it right away, this card kind of just takes over the game, and it gives us so much time to win. Then 1 Deafening Silence, another card for Lotus Breach, pretty much specifically. Atomic is good against Spirits too, but the other 3 cards here are just for Lotus Breach. And Deafening Silence happens to be an enchantment, which makes it great with things like Ethereal Armor, SRAM, Ephemia, a lot of good synergies there. It does get Ugin, so there's that, but it's hard for them to cast Ugin if Deafening Silence is in play because they usually need to untap their Lotus fields a bunch of times to get enough mana for Ugin. So it's going to buy you a ton of time no matter what if they don't have the targeted removal for it right away, and it's cheap and an enchantment, so we're running that instead of like something like Grafdigger's Cage or a 3rd Damping Sphere. I just wanted to diversify our mana cost a little bit too because of Blast Zone. So I don't want to run like Rest in Peace and Damping Sphere and Atomic because then they're all 2 and they can take out all of our CMC2 cards and get us. Anyway, 5-0-10-0 everybody. This deck's sweet. Check it out. Come hang out on my Twitch channel, KPonsMTG. Buy some cards. Buy all these cards from TCGplayer right around here on this website. They're all pretty cheap because this deck is not really high on anybody's radar right now. So yeah, check it out. Have fun with it. Win some tournaments, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out.